For 3 months my husband behaved like a polite stranger. 3 months of careful distance, neat smiles, and the kind of silence that makes the clock sound loud. On a slate-gray morning, halfway to lifting a bite of soft eggs, Ryan said it like small talk. "You're barren, Elena. You won't ever be a mother." No raised voice. No tremor. Just a clinical line as if he were noting the forecast. The utensils slipped, metal scraping porcelain too sharply for our narrow kitchen that overlooked a rain-washed Seattle block. So this was his order to the universe. I was the problem. He didn't know a buff-colored file was zipped inside my tote. Fresh reports from Dr. Naomi Lee, 2 weeks old. Numbers steady. Hormones balanced. No medical barrier in sight. Ryan preferred conclusions that protected him. He took a slow sip of his morning brew. Eyes anywhere but mine. "We've been trying for 2 years. I ran tests. I'm fine. The issue isn't me." A flash of graphs on his phone, too fast to read. Then the screen went face down. "The issue isn't me." For words that felt like a doorway locked from the outside. I told myself the late nights at Carter and Vail Financial would taper off, that the early alarms and showers at the fitness center were temporary. Looking at him now, I understood. He'd been arranging this moment for weeks. "I want a legacy," he said. "A real family. Legacy." He spoke like a man pitching a portfolio, not revising a life. I thought about the tickets tucked in my drawer. Front row at Crescent Hall. The ones he dodged with a sudden client crisis. Then the anniversary dinner he canceled. Then the visit to my parents in Pinecrest he postponed for quarterlies. Every plan I made sprouted an exit ramp. Grace, my sister, noticed first. His ring traveling from cup holder to gym bag to desk. New excuses every time. Back then I said he was tired. That we were just strained. "I scheduled a specialist for us both," I said. Something flickered in his eyes, too quick to name. "That isn't necessary," he answered. "We already know." "No," I said. "You think you do." He rinsed his mug at the sink, the blue-glazed one we found at a weekend market in Ballard. Back when grocery aisles felt like a field trip. "I didn't want you humiliated in a clinic," he said, as if delivering this over breakfast were mercy. He checked his watch. A steel Swiss chronograph I'd saved months to buy for our 5th year. "I've got a downtown meeting." Ryan always had a door that wasn't ours. When it closed, the word barren stayed behind, souring the air. I sat until the rain unclenched into mist. Then laid Dr. Lee's pages across the table where his blurred screenshots had been. Healthy profile. Balanced cycle. Clear path. I wasn't empty. Our marriage was. That evening a new device appeared on his office door. Not a simple lock, but a biometric pad that blinked awake whenever he passed. "Compliance," he said. "Client security. Spreadsheets don't need a retina scan." The truth was already whispering from corners. Cancelled plans, evasive answers, a trace of perfume that wasn't mine. I just hadn't decided what to do with it yet. The sound came first, a soft electronic chime followed by 3 deliberate beeps. That's how I learned my husband had changed the rules of our home. A small black panel now blinked beside the door to his office. When I asked what it was, Ryan didn't even pause while adjusting his tie. "Client security protocols," he said. "Company policy." He entered a code I wasn't supposed to know, and the door clicked shut. A red light glowed for a second, sealing me out of a room that had once been ours. He'd built a border inside our apartment, and I just watched him lock it. That night, a storm rolled through Seattle, wind rattling the windows like someone knocking to be let in. Ryan took a call in his car during the worst of it. I saw his silhouette through the rain-streaked glass, talking, gesturing, smiling faintly at something I couldn't hear. I waited 15 minutes before heading down with his coat. The garage was freezing, my breath clouded the air. I knocked on the driver's window. He looked at me like I'd interrupted a private ritual, then held up one finger. "Wait." I stood there, coat in hand, storm soaking the hem of my jeans, until he finally hung up. "Who were you talking to?" I asked. "You wouldn't understand," he said. That sentence landed harder than any insult. He didn't even offer a lie this time. Just a wall of superiority. After that, he stopped pretending entirely. At Mrs. Navarro's funeral, I reached for his hand during the prayer, and he flinched like I'd burned him. Later, when I asked why, he said, "I thought you were reaching for my wallet." That one sentence told me everything. He'd already rewritten who I was in his mind. The company holiday party came next, his masterpiece of humiliation. We arrived separately, because of course there was another client emergency. I found him near the bar, laughing with colleagues I'd hosted for dinner countless times. When I joined the group, Ryan said casually, "Oh, this is Elena. Not my wife. Not you remember Elena. Just this is Elena." A colleague named Haley Reed looked startled. "Your wife, right? You mean your wife Elena?" Ryan gave a small smile, already turning away. "Right. My wife." The word came out like an afterthought, something borrowed and slightly embarrassing. I spent the rest of the night nursing a single glass of wine while he charmed his way through conversations as if I were invisible. I went home alone. He stayed out networking. When I unlocked the apartment that night, something felt different. A scent, sweet, floral, faint but unfamiliar, hung in the air near the coat rack. Not my perfume. Not even close. A few days later, I found an article open on the kitchen tablet. "Signs your partner may be infertile." Below it, the search history. When a woman hides infertility, how to tell if wife can't have children. The tablet usually lived in Ryan's locked office. That morning it sat in plain sight, glowing on the counter like bait. He wanted me to see it. The next week at Page and Quill Books, I saw him in the medical aisle, snapping photos from a fertility guide, pretending to read. When he noticed me, he shoved his phone in his pocket. "Work research," he said. Ryan worked in investment portfolios, not reproductive medicine. That's when I realized the truth. He wasn't just distancing himself, he was building a case. Piece by piece, he was planting evidence that would one day justify abandoning me. His false diagnosis was only the opening statement. And he did it with such precision, like a man setting a trap and testing the spring. I started noticing patterns in his schedule. Every Friday night he stayed late at the office. Every Saturday morning, his gym session stretched an extra 2 hours. Once he came home smelling faintly of vanilla and something powdery like baby lotion. I told myself it was the soap from the fitness center. But denial has a short shelf life. My mother came to visit for my birthday in February. She stepped into the apartment, paused, and frowned. "It's cold in here," she said. The thermostat read 72. She didn't mean the temperature. She meant us. At dinner, Ryan handed me a discount greeting card, blue foil, generic message, no love note. "Happy birthday," he said, as if signing paperwork. When he left the table to take a call, Mom touched my wrist. "What's happening here, sweetheart?" "We're just under pressure," I said. "Trying for a baby." Her eyes softened with the kind of sadness only mothers have. "Elena, this isn't pressure. This is distance." I laughed it off the way people do when they're halfway to breaking. She didn't believe me. Before leaving, she hugged me hard and whispered, "You can always come home. No questions asked." But I wasn't ready to go. Not yet. Because somewhere under the grief and humiliation, something colder was forming: clarity. Ryan thought he was the one documenting a case, writing his story of my failure. He didn't realize I'd started recording my own. 2 weeks after my mother's visit, Ryan called in sick to work. He never did that. That morning, he brewed 2 cups of coffee instead of 1, measured to perfection like he was hosting a meeting. He even opened the blinds to let in the pale Seattle sunlight, something he hadn't done in months. "Sit," he said. The chair scraped against the floor as I obeyed. For a moment I thought he might apologize. But then he pulled out a brown folder and placed it between us like evidence in a trial. "I've been doing research," he said, "about our situation." He used that same voice he used on conference calls. Calm, professional, stripped of any warmth. The folder looked thick, full of printed charts and medical notes. He opened it with deliberate slowness, pages whispering like confession. "These results confirm what I told you. Your body just can't." "Can't what?" I asked. "Conceive," he said softly. "It's called primary infertility. Irreversible." The word irreversible sank like lead. He didn't even glance up. I watched him perform the scene: concern, sympathy, resignation. Emotions practiced in front of a mirror. The papers never turned toward me. The highlights conveniently faced his side of the table. I noticed small details. His breathing steady, shoulders relaxed. The relief of someone who'd waited to deliver bad news and finally could. "We need to be realistic," he said. "I want children, Elena. You can't give me that. Maybe adoption." I didn't respond, because I realized he wasn't confessing anything. He was closing the case he'd built. His tone wasn't grief, it was victory. Then something in me broke open, not from sadness but from clarity. He had rehearsed this ending. He'd needed me to play the barren wife, so his exit would look merciful instead of cruel. My grandmother's teacup sat near the edge of the table, white porcelain painted with small blue forget-me-nots. It slipped from my hand and hit the floor, shattering into clean pieces. The sound was final, like punctuation. "It's just a cup," he said. "It was my grandmother's. We'll get another one." That sentence, "we'll get another one," was the most honest thing he'd said all morning. He replaced people the same way he replaced things. While he fetched paper towels, I gathered the broken fragments with shaking hands. One piece had caught a drop of coffee, staining the petals dark. I held it a moment longer than I needed to. "I need some air," I said. "We're not done talking." "Yes, we are." He didn't stop me. He never did. The apartment door closed behind me, and I stood in the hallway holding the small box where I'd placed the shards of the cup. Something sharp pressed into my palm, and for the first time in months I didn't feel numb. I felt awake. Ryan's car was gone by the time I came back. His office door stood ajar, the biometric pad flashing green, forgotten. For weeks, I'd passed that door like a loyal guard, respecting the invisible boundary. Now it was open and silence invited me in. The air smelled faintly of his cologne, mixed with something too sweet, perfume expensive, not mine. Papers littered the desk. Ryan was always obsessive about order, so the chaos told me everything. I started from the filing cabinet. Behind labeled folders for taxes and invoices, I found a different envelope, one I'd never seen. Inside, credit card statements, unfamiliar purchases. El Casara Ristorante 2 Atres wine pairing. Café Marlowe dinner for 2. Ember and Oak. 4 visits in 3 months. Then lingerie receipts. Sizes smaller than mine. A jewelry purchase, pearl earrings worth over $1,000. I photographed everything, page by page, the sound of the camera shutter echoing in the quiet. His laptop sat open, screen asleep. I brushed the trackpad. It lit up instantly. No password prompt. Almost like the universe wanted me to see. His inbox flooded the screen. Most emails were work-related, but one thread was flagged purple. His color for important. Sender Madison Cole. I recognized the name. A newer employee from accounting. She'd been at the holiday party, the one where I was just Elena. The emails started innocently enough in November. Then December came. Can't stop thinking about yesterday. Your scent still on my scarf. By January they read like love letters. You make me believe in forever. February. Our little miracle, 12 weeks today. Attached an ultrasound. The photo loaded slowly, pixel by pixel, until a small gray shape appeared, circled in red. Her caption read, "Our new beginning." My pulse slowed instead of racing. Every puzzle piece fell quietly into place. His avoidance, his fake reports, his sudden need for legacy. He'd built a story about my broken body, while building a family with someone else. I photographed the emails, the ultrasound, every detail. By the end, my phone storage was almost full. A digital archive of betrayal. But screenshots weren't enough. I needed something tangible, something that couldn't be deleted. At Pinecrest Library, I printed everything. Photo after photo, document after document, crisp, undeniable. The printer hummed steadily, like it approved of what I was doing. I bought a black binder at the stationery shop next door. Sleek, professional, like a legal file. Each piece of evidence slipped into plastic sleeves, organized by month. November. Professional. December. Affair. January. Declarations. February. Pregnancy. By the time I closed the cover, it wasn't grief I felt. It was control. That night, I drove to my sister Grace's apartment in the Maplewood district, let myself in with the spare key, and hid the binder behind her winter coats. Insurance, I told myself. Though it was more than that. It was power, quiet, patient, waiting. The next morning I called Dr. Naomi Lee. I need new copies of my test results, I said. Official ones with signatures and letterhead. By afternoon, I sat in her office again. The hum of machines filling the sterile room. Blood work, scans, hormone tests, everything redone. Dr. Lee smiled at the results. You're in excellent health, she said. Truly, Elena. Everything looks perfect. Could you put that in writing? Of course. She printed the pages, stamped and signed each one. When she handed me the folder, she hesitated. You seem different today. I am, I said. Things are finally making sense. Driving home, the folder sat on the passenger seat beside me, thick and quiet. The city lights blurred across the windshield as I realized. Ryan had written a false story about me. But I was about to edit the ending. If Ryan wanted a broken wife, I decided to become one. But only on the surface. I spent that weekend building a performance so precise even he would believe it. The first step was props. At Page and Quill Books, I bought adoption pamphlets, printed guides about coping with infertility, and a few self-help titles with pastel covers. The cashier smiled kindly as she bagged them. Whatever you're going through, she said. I hope it gets better. It would. Just not the way she imagined. At home, I scattered the items carefully. One brochure peeking from under a magazine on the coffee table. Another halfway inside my nightstand book. A third tucked into my purse so Ryan would find it when I accidentally left it open. Then I moved to the computer. I filled the browser history with searches. IVF clinics near me, how to grieve infertility, adoption requirements in Washington. I even created a spreadsheet comparing clinic costs, because Ryan trusted numbers more than people. The next step was me. I wore soft sweaters, skipped makeup, and let my hair fall unstyled. When I spoke, my voice carried a faint tremor, as if I were trying not to cry. He noticed. He was supposed to. That Wednesday, I joined a support group called North Sound Fertility Circle. They met in a church basement, fluorescent lights humming, the air thick with quiet heartbreak. I arrived early, clutching tissues and a cup of tea. When it was my turn to share, I said, "We just found out I can't have children. My husband's been very patient." The women nodded with the kind of compassion that makes guilt taste worse. Their pain was real. Mine was rehearsed. But I needed the attendance slip, the donation receipt, the pamphlet stamped with the date. Proof for Ryan's eyes. When I got home, he was sitting at the kitchen counter, flipping through one of the brochures. "You're looking into adoption?" he asked, tone careful, measured. "Maybe," I said, lowering my eyes. "If it's the only way we can have a family." Something softened in his expression, satisfaction, not love. He believed me. "That's very practical, Elena," he said. "I'm proud of you." Proud. Like I was a trainee completing an unpleasant task. But I smiled anyway. Over the next week, he grew strangely relaxed. His late nights returned, but the lies became lazier. He stopped offering explanations altogether. He'd already written the ending, and in his mind, I'd accepted it. He didn't know I was rewriting the script behind his back. By late February, I'd tracked his movements down to patterns so exact they could have been calendar entries. Mondays, gym, but really the Armitage Suites downtown. Fridays, client dinner, same address. He wasn't cautious anymore. When men feel victorious, they grow careless. Grace became my accomplice without ever realizing how deep my plan ran. I told her bits. Enough for plausible concern, not enough for alarm. She'd call in the evenings when Ryan was home, her voice carrying through the thin apartment walls. "You have to accept what you can't change," she'd say loudly, while texting me names of divorce attorneys. I'd answer in the same shaky tone I used at the support group. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I just need to find new purpose." It worked. Ryan would overhear, come over, pat my shoulder gently and say, "Your sister gives good advice." The first time he touched me in months. Even that felt like acting, his role. The noble husband, mine the broken wife. The invitation came on a Thursday afternoon. A text message from Ryan. "Dinner tomorrow. The Glass House Bistro. 7 p.m. Important news. Please don't be late." My pulse didn't quicken, my breathing didn't change. I just knew. He was going to end it. And he wanted an audience. The Glass House Bistro wasn't just any restaurant. It was where he'd proposed 6 years ago. The symmetry of his cruelty was almost elegant. I spent Friday preparing the way one prepares for battle. Calmly, methodically. I retrieved the black binder from Grace's closet, transferred the contents to a clean manila envelope, and ordered the evidence chronologically. My real medical reports from Dr. Lee. Credit card receipts for dinners and gifts. Emails with Madison's declarations. The ultrasound photo. Each page placed deliberately like bullets in sequence. Then I dressed in the black wrap dress Ryan once said made me look beautiful enough to distract an entire room. That felt appropriate. I took a cab to the glass house. The sky was fading into dusk, the kind that turned Seattle silver and blue. The maitre d' recognized me. "Mrs. Caldwell, your husband reserved a corner booth." "Actually," I said, smiling, "could I have the table near the window instead?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Of course, ma'am." The table gleamed under warm light. I placed my purse on the seat beside me, the envelope inside like a silent weight. Outside, the city lights reflected on the glass like constellations. At exactly 7, Ryan arrived, not alone. A woman trailed beside him, her hand resting lightly on his arm. Madison Cole. She was younger than I remembered. A soft blue dress clung to her curves, fabric gathered around a small, unmistakable swell. She was pregnant. The restaurant hushed a little when they entered. Ryan in his best charcoal suit, Madison beside him, her hand resting protectively over a softly rounded belly. The maitre d' greeted them by name, his practiced smile faltering when he saw me already seated. Not in the corner booth Ryan had reserved, but front and center by the window where every table could see us. Ryan's step faltered for just a second. Then the mask returned. "Elena," he said smoothly. "This is Madison. From my office." "Of course," I replied. "Please join me." I pulled out Madison's chair before he could. Her smile was nervous, polite. The kind of smile people wear when they sense danger but can't place where it's coming from. Her perfume was light, expensive, and utterly foreign in its sweetness. Ryan sat between us like a mediator, already sweating beneath the linen napkin folded in his lap. The waiter approached. Ryan ordered wine, then corrected himself. "Actually, 2 glasses. Madison can't drink," I finished gently. "Congratulations, by the way." Madison's cheeks colored. Her hand went back to her stomach. "Thank you," she murmured. Ryan shifted in his seat, his jaw tightening. "We wanted to talk to you, Elena. Honestly, about the future." "Of course," I said. "Honesty is important." He cleared his throat. "You and I both know things haven't been right for a long time. Madison and I, well, it happened unexpectedly, but life finds a way." I offered. His eyes flicked up at me, wary. Madison glanced between us, uncertain whether she was supposed to speak. "We didn't plan any of this," she said. "I just hope you understand what you're going through. It must be so hard." "You mean infertility?" I asked softly. She nodded, relieved that I'd said the word for her. "Yes. Ryan told me everything." "I'm so sorry." I smiled, and for the first time in months it was genuine. "Thank you," I said. "Though I should clarify one thing." Ryan froze. I reached into my purse, withdrew the manila envelope, and laid it on the white tablecloth. The envelope looked harmless, just paper, ink, and glue. But it was heavier than truth should ever be. "What's this?" he asked. "Since we're discussing honesty," I said, "I thought we could all be on the same page." The seal tore open with a soft rip. Ryan's fingers trembled slightly as he pulled out the stack of documents. Dr. Naomi Lee's letterhead gleamed under the candlelight. He read silently, eyes moving faster, color draining with each line. "Excellent reproductive health. Optimal hormone balance. No clinical barriers to conception." The words hit him harder than I'd hoped. He flipped to the second page. Dr. Lee's signature, stamped and dated twice, 2 sets of results confirming the same thing. Madison leaned forward. "What's that?" she asked, her voice rising. Ryan didn't answer. "Those are my medical results," I said, my tone calm and steady. "The real ones. From the real doctor. 2 tests 6 months apart. Both perfect." Madison's confusion sharpened. "But Ryan showed me," he said. "He said you couldn't." "He lied," I said. He forged test results to make me look broken, so he could build his new family with you. Ryan's lips parted, but no words came out. I reached into the envelope again. But that's not the only truth you deserve tonight. The next page bore another letterhead. Dr. Harold Trent, Urology. Ryan's knuckles whitened as he recognized it. 2 years ago, I said. You had a procedure. A varicocele repair, right? The one that affected your fertility. His breath stuttered. The doctor said it might lower sperm motility. You never went back for the follow-up test. Stop, he hissed. So the odds of you conceiving naturally are well less than 15%. The restaurant had gone completely still. Even the clinking of cutlery from other tables had stopped. Only Madison's shaky breathing filled the silence. Her hand left her belly as though it suddenly didn't belong there. What are you saying? I'm saying, Madison, I said gently. That math doesn't lie. You're 4 months along. Ryan's been clinically infertile for 2 years. That's not true. Ryan snapped, standing so fast his chair scraped the floor. The surgery fixed it. No follow-up, I reminded him. No proof. Just assumptions. Madison turned pale. Ryan, she whispered. You told me you were fine. You said the doctor cleared you. He did. When? He didn't answer. Her eyes glistened. Ryan, are you saying this baby might not be yours? The question cracked something open in the air, raw, irreversible. Ryan's hands shook. Of course it's mine. Unless what? I asked quietly. He turned on her. Were you with anyone else? Madison's lip quivered. No, she said too quickly. Ryan's voice rose, trembling with rage and panic. Madison, tell me the truth. It's yours, she insisted, eyes darting, tears threatening. It has to be. Has to be, I repeated softly. That's not the same as is. He slammed his fist against the table. Silverware rattled. The waiter hesitated at the edge of the dining room, uncertain whether to intervene. Who is it, Madison? Ryan demanded. Who's the father? Madison's face crumpled. She whispered it like a confession. Evan Blake. From accounting. Every head nearby turned. Ryan stood frozen, staring at her as if she'd spoken in another language. You, his voice cracked. You said you wanted a family with me. I thought I did. You thought you could replace me with anyone. I stood calmly, sliding the rest of the papers onto the table. Emails, receipts, photos, all spread out like a portfolio of destruction. The divorce papers are at the bottom, I said softly. My lawyer will be in touch. Ryan sank back into his chair, silent, gray-faced, staring at the wreckage of his own making. Madison sobbed openly, mascara running down her cheeks, hands trembling over her stomach. I looked at them both. The man who called me barren and the woman who'd built her future on his lie. Good luck, I said. You'll need it. Then I turned to the waiter, who had been standing motionless with wide eyes. Separate checks, please. I walked out to the sound of Madison's crying and the soft murmur of diners pretending not to stare. Behind me, the maitre d' whispered, Well played, ma'am. Outside, the city smelled of rain. Cold air hit my skin like freedom. For the first time in a year I felt weightless. Divorce hearings sound colder than they feel. Paper rustles, pens click, lawyers trade polite phrases that cut deeper than shouting ever could. Ryan sat 3 chairs away, his posture stiff, his tie crooked for the first time in his life. He didn't look at me once. When the judge asked if I agreed to the settlement, I simply said, Yes, Your Honor. No trembling. No tears. Just relief. The kind that hums quietly under your skin like new air entering a sealed room. Outside the courthouse, the spring rain had softened into drizzle. Grace waited by the curb holding 2 coffees. How do you feel? She asked. Light, I said. She smiled. Good. It's about time. We walked to her car without umbrellas, letting the rain wash the last of him off our shoulders. The apartment was emptier now. His office door, once locked, once sacred, stood open, stripped bare. The biometric pad blinked uselessly, unconnected to anything. I left it there as a reminder. Every prison eventually loses power. For weeks I lived inside quiet routines. Morning walks along Lake Union, coffee from a new shop on Pinecrest Street, Evenings spent reading instead of waiting. The silence that used to ache now felt like calm. One afternoon I finally threw away the black binder. Not out of mercy, out of freedom. It had done its job. I didn't need proof anymore, I had peace. When I told Dr. Lee about the divorce during my last follow-up, she nodded kindly. "You look healthier," she said. "I am," I answered. Turns out the cure was leaving. Grace convinced me to take a small trip. A weekend by the coast. No plans, no phones, just air and water. The inn overlooked the ocean, waves folding themselves onto the sand in endless rhythm. The first night I slept with the window open, the salt wind carrying in the sound of distant gulls. I dreamed of nothing at all. And that for once was enough. The next morning I met someone. It wasn't romantic, not yet, maybe never. He was sketching on the patio, a tall man with ink on his hands and paint on his shoes. He smiled when our eyes met, the kind of smile that asked nothing in return. "Storm's supposed to clear by afternoon," he said. "Good," I replied. "I like watching things open up." We talked about small things, the tide, the color of the water, the smell of coffee from the inn's kitchen. He never asked about my past and I didn't offer it. For the first time in years I spoke as someone whole, not as half of a broken story. When I left, he handed me a small card with a sketch of the ocean. No phone number. Just a note at the bottom. "Keep going." Back home I started over in the simplest ways. New curtains. New dishes. The sound of laughter returning slowly, like a language I'd once forgotten. Some nights I still think about Ryan, not with anger but with a kind of detached gratitude. He taught me the difference between love and ownership, between being chosen and being free. The apartment hums softly at night, wind pressing against the glass. Sometimes I imagine the city itself breathing with me. Steady, unhurried, alive. I light a candle, pour tea, and sit by the window watching lights flicker across Seattle's skyline. It's not revenge I feel anymore. It's clarity. A quiet understanding that the worst endings are often the most honest beginnings. And for the first time in a long time, I don't need anyone to tell me what my life should look like. I can already see it, bright and perfect and completely mine.